I'm on the shores of Lake Hartwell with Mr. Dave Mercer. Taku Ito is whacking spotted bass behind us.
That's what he does.
That's what he does. But Dave Mercer does a lot of different things. Dave, I met you before you were officially Dave Mercer. I met you at a TTBC at Lake Fork. Do you remember that one?
I was still Dave Mercer.
You weren't the official Dave Mercer at that point. It was a very memorable event. Trace Atkins was there.
Yeah. Big star.
Big star in a lot of ways.
Yes, very much so. Very much so.
But I want to know, you have a unique skill set and you kind of have a one of one job. I mean, like, do you plan to be the MC at Bass, or how do you come to that point?
Oh, that's such a weird, winding story. So, literally my entire life, the two things that I've always felt comfortable doing, or at home doing, you know what I mean? Like, having to feel a peace at, is fishing, and also speaking, entertaining. Like, I've won every speech contest in school. I just always not been a very smart person, but I learned to move the hole that makes the words and just keep moving until something makes sense. So I always kind of enjoyed speaking to audiences, and I fished tournaments up to my early 20s. And even then I was like, man, I don't know if I like this life. And that's why I think I have so much respect for the anglers, because how much they're gone, for a month at a time. Somebody like Paulnick leaves. I mean, he's had a house for 4 years and probably has spent 4 months in it. So I didn't want that life, and I started focusing on TV, and I'd go to the Classic every year, and I'd be like, man, did I screw up? Not that I thought I could have been Kevin Van Dam or something, but I figured, no way, not even close. I can't even keep up to him on vacation, never mind compete against him. But you think, oh, maybe I could have made a Classic or whatever. So every year I'd be there working and I'd be like, man, I would have loved to be in, but I'd always looked at the MC thing and think, man, that'd be super cool. Like, since I was a kid, like, I'm talking like when we would go on class trips and the guy would announce, and it doesn't matter whether you're going to some historic site and there's a dude on the bus announcing. I'm like, that guy's got the coolest job in the world for whatever reason. But one thing led to another. I did kind of a charity tournament at home. And then I guess my big break in the US was the TTBC. The guys from Octagon, Lenny Francoeur, called up, who I'm still friends with today. And he called up and said, hey, we're running this event and we think you'd be, and we need an MC, and CBS and all. Like, he's telling me how big this is going to be. Trace Atkins is going to be there. It's going to be on CBS. It's going to be huge. He says, we need an MC. And I'm like, oh, this is my big break. And he goes, but don't worry, it's not going to be you. But it's a true story. He said, but we think you'd make a good kind of sideshow guy. And they hired Fishburne, he said, who do you think we should hire? And I'm a huge Fishburne fan. So they hired Fishburne for that first one. I was the sideshow guy who did stuff, and one thing led to another. I ended up emceeing the event, and thank God for it, because that ultimately led into Bass.
So Fishburne was great. When I hear you on stage, though, when I hear you on podcasts, I hear little snippets of other people, like influences. Not that you're stealing someone's act, but you.
A bug is stealing my voice.
He doesn't have a voice. There's now an opening for Bass MC. He's back.
I'm back.
I hear snippets of other people, like, who are comedians or podcasters or MCs that you listen to and you say, man, that guy, I'm not going to steal his act, but I can take a little bit, or he influenced me.
I'm man enough to admit, I think everybody is that way. I think a lot of people won't admit it, but I think there's so many influences. I mean, like, as announcers, I think Bruce Buffer and people like that do incredible jobs. I have ultimate respect for them. There's many comedians, Shane Gillis, I think, I don't know. Hold on.
He's about to die.
I'm about to die. Perfect timing. But all of those people are influences. But over the year, there's tons of, you see things. I'm a fan of, like, when I go to anything, like, I've been to just different events throughout the year, and you hear different MCs do different things. But I think that's how you learn as a person. But yeah, there's a ton of different influences, I guess. But I wouldn't point them all out, because I think it sounds weird. I mean, Shane Gillis is a much more accomplished comedian, whatever, than ever. Bruce Buffer doesn't even know that I exist. I mean, I'm just happy that I get an opportunity to hold a microphone and talk when I'm not battling a bug or whatever is in my throat.
But you hold a microphone, you go through 100 or so anglers, and you keep it moving and you keep it interesting. Like, do you have to prepare for that? You have so many stats right at your fingertips all the time. Do you memorize that? Does it come naturally to you? Do you work at it?
A little bit of both. A lot of it is I'm just obsessed with the sport. I think no different than great writers, you love the sport. If
Absolutely.
somebody said, hey, you could take the greatest writer from another sport, put him into bass fishing, and they probably wouldn't write with the passion that you do, or many Louis Stout does, because they don't love it like you do. I love this. I live and breathe this. So whether I worked for bass or not, I'm going to know a lot of these stats. But obviously, as the sport changes, as you get new anglers in, there is some studying that goes into it. And to me, the whole reason I do that is, weirdly, I put a pressure on myself. Like, I think about it, it's real easy to think, oh, I just screwed up so-and-so's name. But when I think about it, I'm lucky enough to do this at some pretty cool opportunities. And when somebody qualifies for the Bassmaster Classic for their very first time, in my head, they're just getting announced, but you have envisioned that takeoff in the morning and you want to hear your name said right. You want to hear your accomplishments shouted out. So I've kind of put a pressure on myself to deliver in that moment. And I guess that's where a lot of it comes from. But it does study. I mean, one of the tricks that I use is I write stuff down. For me, my memory gets a lot better. Like if I can read it 100 times, but if I actually physically go through writing it or typing it, it doesn't have to be physically written, but just making the list, that's what helps me remember it. But, and it's also lack of other abilities. I'm just not good at anything else, so I better figure out a way to be good at this.
Do you cringe when Gerald Swindle is coming up waiting for what he's going to say?
No, I get excited. I mean, I see his name coming up and I'm like, oh, water break. I get to, to me, any moment that happens on the stage that gets a reaction, any moment that happens where the crowd responds to it, whether it's happy, sad, emotional, whatever it is, that to me is us doing our job. And I'm literally a elaborate mic stand, and my job is to kind of set that up and get out. And my reaction sometimes to Swindle stuff where people are like, oh, you were really insulted there, where I'm like, that's from my growing up watching wrestling. I am selling the bit. But no, I don't cringe at all. I love moments like that.
Who's someone that people don't know who's actually pretty funny, either up on stage or in private life?
On the Elite Series?
Yeah.
I'm going to go, and people are starting to get to know him, but Justin Hamner. I mean, Justin Hamner is sneaky funny. Takumi, the guy right over our shoulder. People know he's funny, but it's amazing. Like, when I met him, it was like a UFC interview. I met him in Birmingham with Mark Zona, and he came up and introduced himself to me through his wife. And everything was translated through her. But now he is like literally a puppeteer of the crowd. It's incredible. And audiences everywhere love him. And I think it's because he's real. Like the first time he took the lead, it comes up on the thing and he goes, I'm leading? I think everybody feels that the first time. The difference is Takumi said it. Most people, it's really horrible timing. Most people, can you tell I speak for a living? Most people will be, they'll think that, but then their response will be, well, I got to catch him tomorrow or whatever. Takumi's just honest and real, and I think people relate with that.
Who's someone who you've seen get better over time? Someone who came in and maybe they weren't adept at speaking and has become really good out there?
Well, by far it's Takumi. I mean, that
it's a language thing, but it's also the personality shown through.
All of them, really. I think all of them. To a certain extent, they all, like, different levels. Like, and it's a weird thing. Like, they're only up there for a split second of time. They have sponsors saying, make sure you say our name and everything. But I think the key to it is just being real. That's what people want. They want to connect with somebody real. And that's what a good article does. It allows people to know who that person is. But I think there's a lot of them. So it's hard to pick out one person and say they all, but I think every one of them has gotten better. I think we're seeing it right in front of our very eyes with Easton Fothergill. Absolutely. He started very timid, and he is a very timid person. Unless you put a rod in his hand, then he's a psychopath. And I didn't know Kevin when he first started, but for whatever reason, I get a similar vibe where they're, that long, lanky, kind of quiet northern guy. But you can see Easton coming out of his own and being real. So I think we're seeing that. But I think all of them, and that's how I look at it, that's my job. to get comfortable with them, to get them comfortable, and to have those moments.
Do you ever want to offer someone a breath mint?
Oh, yeah. There's a long list of... I wish we would get certs or some gum company as a sponsor. I don't know. I would put a little bowl of them. I would put a little bowl of them. But you're talking about people who have fished for a long time. They don't take a lot of water breaks. It's generally not good in some situations. But that's all part of the trials and tribulations of being an MC.
We have places where we get great crowds, Waddington, Orange, Texas. We have storied fisheries like Fork. What's sort of a place that you like to go for some oddball reason? Maybe the people don't know as much about it.
Every crowd I like the new ones. To me, there's something special. Pasquotank River. Sure, we had great crowds, but there's just something special when you go somewhere and you have that connection with the crowd where they're like, bass is here. The thing that I've watched my whole life growing up is finally here. So that to me is the more special ones. But, the bigger the crowd, the kind of better. But the one that I wish we'd go back to that still stands out is Philly. I mean, awesome. It was insane. Like, we had anglers on stage. I remember Terry Scroggins was weighing in, and somebody just in the middle of whatever he was saying yells, "Big show!" Or it might have had like an adjective in front of that I probably shouldn't say. And anglers were startled at the response. But to me, that's what I'm trying to elicit on stage. Being on stage, although I'm loud and boisterous, whatever, you see I try to run off stage. That moment's not about me. It's about the anglers. These guys, it's a different sport. In golf, when you put the putt in, you're surrounded by a gallery. You get that moment. You get them cheering. In our sport, you don't. The only time they get that moment is in the arena or at the weigh-in. So I want them to get that response. So the bigger, the louder the audience, the better it is, if you ask me. And that's why I run around waving towels and doing stuff, because I'm trying to get the crowd. To me, I'm just an elaborate mascot that's trying to get everyone to cheer for the Stars.
I know there might be some logistical problems in it, but if we were to have an Elite Series tournament in Canada, where should it be? Someplace where there's no pollen, apparently.
I don't know what's happening. I mean, I'm nervous, Pete, is what it is.
Okay, David.
Thank you. We'll get through this together. A lot of people would think I'd say near my house. And that'd be cool. Lake Simcoe, I mean, that's a famous lake. But I straight up think we need to go to where Gussie lives. Because Simcoe is going to look similar to Thousand Islands. As far as you're going to have an offshore guy, it's going to be like fishing Lake Ontario. You're going to have a big body of water where if we go to Thousand Islands, or you go to Thousand Islands stuff, they're all kind of look the same. Where Gussie lives, Lake of the Woods, dude, that is eagles. It's multi-different ways of fishing, like thousands of islands, and just I always say it is the Canada America wants to see. and float planes and all that stuff. I just think it would be tremendous. I think we'd get tremendous support from not just Kenora, that part of the world, but International Falls, all the Minnesota crowd, everybody would end up there. So that's kind of where I'd vote. I don't think it'll ever happen, though. Like, I just think
really cool.
It would be cool, but I just think it's another country. To get all of the stuff over the border and everything, it's not as simple as people would think.
What's the drive from, let's say, Minneapolis to Kenora, would you guess?
That's not that bad. From Minneapolis, where I am, it takes me 20... If you left my house and drove north, another car left my house, drove south, the car driving south would get to Florida before I'd get to Gussie's. That's how far. But you got a lot of Great Lakes to get around. But I think it's just, I bet you it's 8-9 hours.
Oh, that's not
so
bad.
It's not bad. I mean, from that side, it's not bad at all.
Okay, everyone in the bass fishing world knows you. Obviously, they see you on Bass Live. I want to make sure we cover all of your podcasts, YouTube channels, TV shows. Where can people see you?
Every week on... I do Mercer, the Mercer podcast, every Wednesday, and you can get that on every streaming platform, YouTube. I do Officially Unofficial, a show that we just started with Bass that airs every other Monday on bassmaster.com and their platforms. Fax Fishing TV show, which is how I originally started. That's on Outdoor Channel. And just everything Facts of Fishing or Dave Mercer, that's how you can find me. And I'm not always choking on my saliva or whatever I've been choking. I think my throat's okay now that this interview's ended.
It was
it's
pressure,
perfect
a lot
time.
of pressure.
A lot of pressure. Very nervous, Pete.
Check him out, Dave Mercer.